صباح الخير جميعا. النهارده بنرحب بيكم في هذه الجلسه الاوبن فورم رقم 11. الاوبن فورم رقم 11 on digital cooperation in the Arab region. نظرة المنطقة العربية للديجيتال كوبريشن نظرة وراها خلفية منهجية خاصة بعدة بروسيسز بتكون مفهوم الديجيتال كوبريشن عندنا. هل الصوت واصل؟
واصل دكتور، سامعين حضرتك سامعنا؟
لو في
واصل يا
other mics
دكتور، واصل.
please shut down the other mics. وهنخلي بس المايكس مع السادة البانلست الموجودين هنا. مرة تانية، عنوان هذه الجلسة الأوبن فورم رقم 11 في القاعة 10 بعنوان Digital Cooperation in the Arab Region. ومفهوم الديجيتال كوبريشن عندنا مؤطر مؤسسيا وفقا للتايتل اللي كان موجود دلوقتي قدامنا، وهو ارتباطه بالبروسيس الخاصة بالقمة العالمية لمجتمع المعلومات وهي ال World Summit on Information Society، ومرتبط كذلك بكافة المسارات الدولية وأحدثها هو الجلوبال ديجيتال كومباكت. وبالتالي العنوان التأسيسي هو ان احنا بنعمل راوند اوف كونسلتيشنز بعد ما عملنا فيرست راوند في دبي في This is the second edition of the Arab Consultative Conference on the WISIS Plus 20 review and the Global Digital Compact process. هنتكلم عن الباكت اوف ذا فيوتشر جلوبال ديجيتال كومباكت والديكلاريشن اوف فيوتشر جنريشنز از اطار كونتكست لهذا الحوار، وفي نفس الوقت هنحاول نعطي يجاوب على بعض النقاط الأساسية في هذه المحاور. بنعطي وقت إن شاء الله فلور وريموتلي من خلال الزوم. أول حاجة أحب أعرف الضيوف اللي معانا. معانا ريموتلي البانالست من البارتنر الرئيسي بين الإسكوا والمنطقة العربية. علاقاتنا مباشرة مع جميع الدول العربية، ولكن بتكون كمان معززة أكتر من خلال جامعة الدول العربية. ومفروض إن معانا السيد خالد والي Director of the Communication and Information Technology Development Department في League of Arab States، وهو عارض طبي هيمثله في هذا الاجتماع السيد بالقاسم والسيدة سهى. السيد بالقاسم هو مدير وحدة أو قسم الاتصالات في جامعة الدول العربية، والسيدة سهى خبيرة في قسم الاتصالات. هيكونوا معانا فيرتشوالي من الزوم. على اليمين السيد شارل شعبان، وهو له عدة هاتس، بس عادة بيمثل هولدر كومبوننت المتعلق بالبزنس سيكتور ان جنرال، وكذلك ممكن نقول بالتكنيكال او المنظمات المتخصصه التكنيكال اكاديميا. وهو بيمثل كمان دور مهم في المالتي ستيك هولدر ارينجمنت اللي في المنتدى العربي لحوكمه الانترنت Arab Internet Governance Forum، فهو رئيس المالتي ستيك هولدر بروجرام ادفايزري كوميتي. سيد شارل شعبان معانا هنا. كذلك معانا ريموتلي من احد الشركاء المهمين في الديجيتال كوبريشن السيده كريستين عريضه. السيده كريستين عريضه كان المفروض تكون معانا برضو لظرف ما صعب شويه، بس ان شاء الله اموره تتحسن. يعني فضلت تكون معانا فيرتشوال، ودورها يعني اساسي وهنشرحه في اثناء السياق. وهي انترناشونال اكسبرت ان وعرب استراتيجيك ادفايزر تو ذا اكزيكتيف بريزيدنت ناشونال تيليكوم ريجولاتوري اوثورتي في جمهورية مصر العربية، وبرضو لها دور كان مهم في فترة طويلة في إدارة فريق الأمانة الفنية للمنتدى السكرتارية للعرب IGF. وعلى يسار معنا السيد قصي الشطي موجود معنا فيزيكلي، وهو خبير دولي في مجال حوكمة الإنترنت، وكان رئيس أول لجنة للمالتي ستيك هولدر ادفايزري كوميتي في الفترة من 2012 ل 2014، وهي المرحلة التأسيسية للعرب IGF. وكمان معانا على ذا رايت سايد مستر شفيق شقيق NCC، وهي أهم الار اي، وهي الار اي ار الرئيسي اللي يعني مهتم بالمنطقة وبأوروبا. هو ريجنال مانجر للبابليك بوليسي، one of the champions برضه للعرب انترنت جفرنس فورم، ورئيس حاليا الماج اللبنيز IGF. ولاست نوت من اهم الشخصيات الوسس بصفه عامه، وهو هيكون تاسيس للندوه النهارده، السيده نرمين السعداني، وهي حاليا تشغل منصب ريجنال فايس بريزيدنت ميدل ايست للانترنت سوسايتي، بالاضافه لادوارها كده مع الاداره المصريه. معانا كمان السيده ميرنا بربر من فريق الاسكوا، في فريق الديجيتال كوبريشن اند ديفلوبمنت، وموجوده معانا ريموتلي، وهتكون تتابع معانا هذه الجلسه ومخرجاتها، وكمان الريموت انكوايريز. ومن هنا معانا من تيم الاسكوا برضو السيده ريتا وهبي من فريق الاسكوا البحث والدعم البحثي، وهتكون معانا نتابع الاسئله وتقدم الملخص في اخر الجلسه. طيب، without further ado خليني اقول بسرعه الستوري بتاعتنا هتمشي ازاي النهارده. ببساطه احنا الموضوع الساعه ونص ده لازم يكون ان شاء الله في شكل جورني، هنمشي مع بعض نتشاور وناخد اراء فيما يخص الرحله اللي قمنا بيها كلنا في المنطقه العربيه مواكبه للعالم، ابتداء من 2002 2003 2005، وهي ليها سيجنيفيكانس معين، وما انتهت اليه حتى الان. ثم بنعرج على اشياء معينه ظهرت في 2006 ومستمره حتى الان، ثم اشياء جديده مسارات اخرى ظهرت في 2019 ومستمره حتى الان. فلقينا ان الكرونولوجيكال ديسكورس هو هيكون انسب طريقه نتحرك فيها في المسار ماذا يحدث، ولانه كل الاشياء دي حاليا ما زالت فايبرنت وما زالت محل التجديد والتطوير، فهنحاول نقسم الاسئله بشكل يتعرض للبروسيس الاقدم ثم الاحدث ثم الاحدث ثم الاحدث. ببساطه هنبدا من الويسس، وحضراتكم سمعتوا كتير للي ضالع في هذا الامر او اللي هو جديد عليه ان احنا الفتره دي احنا فاضل لنا 10 شهور على التجديد الثاني للقمه العالميه لمجتمع المعلومات، حيث انها بدات في 2003 في مرحلتها الاولى في جنيف، 2005 في تونس، وصدر عنها تونس اجنده، لكن صدر عنها كمان تعرف على اشكاليات كبرى كانت اعظمها واكبرها في منطقه التمويل، وده موضوع لا ينتهي، ولكن في موضوع حوكمه الانترنت. فاذا في 2003 اللي هي بدات في 98 في مينيابوليس، ناس والستيك هولدرز من خلال البلاني بوتنشري اللي كان في مينيابوليس 98 قرروا ان لابد من دخول الاي سي تي لعالم التنميه وعالم التعاون الدولي، وبالتالي حطوا هدف يكون في قمه عالميه. وطبعا انا فخور ان انا بذكر الموضوعات دي لان انا واكبت الاشياء دي كلها يعني لايفلي في الكارير والبروفيشن بتاعي من ايام قبل اليونايتد نيشنز لما كنت لسه في الاندستري. ف 98 كانت لحظه فارقه، مش بس في الويسس وفي تشكيل الايكان وفي تشكيل امور كثيره على مستوى العالم. فالامور دي ما زالت ممتده. الويسس يدخل في تفريعاته، تم مراجعه الويسس بلس 5 ثم مراجعه الويسس بلس 10. وبذكر السيده نرمين في الاداره المصريه وقتها كانت مسؤوله جلوبالي عن موضوع الويسس بلس 10 ريفيو 2015. وفي هذا الوقت نظروا باكورد 10 years ولقوا ان من الاهميه بمكان ان تستمر الويسس ل 25. النهارده في سنه 2024 فاضل ايام وندخل 25، هنشوف هنجدد الويسس العالمي بشكله بمضمونه بهيكله، ولا هنغير في الامور دي ولا هنلغيه، محدش عارف، لكن هيبان من الحوار. طيب يبقى دي بروسس النهارده وصلت لمرحله التجديد الثاني للويسس بلس 20، واحنا شاركنا من خلال الدوره الاولى اللي عملناها لهذه السيشن في دبي يوم 22 مايو اللي فات، وعملنا الفيرست كونسلتيشنز هنبني عليها النهارده، لان في متغيرات تمت من مايو لغايه النهارده، يعني 7 شهور مش شيء بسيط في عمر الانترنت، وكمان بقى سريع في عمر البوليسي ميكنج which is good news. طيب يبقى اذا دي اول كونتكست هنتكلم فيه، وبعدين هنتكلم عن المسار اللي نتج من في قضيه الانترنت جوفرنس، وظهر في تونس اجنده في شكل الدعوه لانشاء المنتدى العالمي لحوكمه الانترنت. طب نحضر الدوره 19 ليه؟ والتاني مره في المنطقه العربيه، حيث اول مره كانت في شرم الشيخ 2009. اذا هنسال السؤال الثاني النهارده حول الاي جي اف العالمي وكذلك العربي اللي انشأناه في المنطقه في سنه 2011، وبدات فعالياته في 2012 بناء على مبادره من الاسكو في 2009 في شرم الشيخ، حيث كان الاي جي اف العالمي موجود في المنطقه. وقلنا آن الأوان إن إحنا نرتب أمورنا في خلال سنة سنتين يكون عندنا منتدى عربي. هيكون ده السؤال الثاني النهارده للبانلست ولحضراتكم. إذا احنا النهارده هنسال ماذا يحدث الان. ما يحدث الان هو اكشلي مش تجديد للويسس كما فقط في خلال 10 اشهر، ولكن تجديد للاي جي اف برضه. هل الاي جي اف هيفضل بشكله مضمونه بهيكله، ولا هناخد اراء ونساهم في تشكيل جديد؟ يبقى السؤال الثاني حول البروسيس التي ولدت في 2006 حتى الان، حيث جدد لها في 2015 ل 25. فاحنا في لحظه فارقه. الحاجه الثالثه مختلفه تماما، مسار لا يعني يمت الى تونس اجنده عضوي، انه هو كانت رؤيه الامين العام للامم المتحده في 2018 2019. المفهوم العنوان بتاعنا اللي هو الديجيتال كوبريشن، فكر في عنوان جديد، لانه لقى ان من 2006 ل 2018 في اشياء كتيره ما زالت تو كامبس شغالين، كل كامب لوحده. كامب المالتي ستيك هولدر شغال وبيطلع حوارات ومسجز، بس مش متصل بالمالتي لاترال بشكل كافي. وكامب المالتي لاترال اللي هو كان يتوقع اشياء اكتر مما نتجت عن تونس اجندا، وكان واخد جنب شويه وبيحارب في موضوعات لها قيمه مهمه، وخاصه قضايا السياده ودور الحكومات. فالامين العام لما قرينا توجهه في 2018 بمصطلح الديجيتال كوبريشن وما تحتويه من ريبورت الهاي ليفل بانل اللي حصل، كان بيتكلم على تقارب كبير جدا من كل المسارات، تقارب بين المالتي لاتراليزم والمالتي ستيك هولدرزم، ونتج عنه من 3 شهور بالظبط في مضمون وفي سياق سامت اوف ذا فيوتشر نتج عنه الجلوبال ديجيتال كومباكت واشياء اخرى. فده هيكون سؤالنا الثالث. هو مش خلص خلاص من شهرين 3؟ حتى زملائنا واحنا بنتناقش بنرتب ما فيش جديد. لكن النهارده الصبح فيليبو زي ما شفته في جلسه في الورك شوب نمبر 7 قال اللي انا كنت هقوله، قال لا احنا شغالين على فكره، احنا ساكتين بس شغالين. واي ثينك ذات واز جود نيوز فور ايفري ون. فاحنا هنناقش فيها ايه؟ اللي بنناقشه هناك هنبتدي نناقشه معاكم، وهو مرحله تنفيذ الجلوبال ديجيتال كومباكت. واخيرا ليس اخيرا هنتكلم على ازاي كل البازل دي تركب مع بعض. فخلينا دلوقتي نبدا بالسؤال الاول وهو خاص بالويسس. خليني اراجع بس النوتس في ثواني. السؤال الاول هيكون لجامعه الدول العربيه، بس في جزء من الحدوته نسيت ان انا اقوله، او تعمدت ان انا اخليه لجامعه الدول العربيه، لان اول مداخله هم اكتر حد ممكن يتعمق فيها، ولكن الباب مفتوح لكل الزملاء. السيد بالقاسم والسيده سهى والسيد خالد والي. جامعه الدول العربيه مؤخرا يعني دخلنا في شراكات عديده، منها المنتدى العربي لحكامه الانترنت، منتدى الويسس اند 2030 اجندا، ديجيتال كوبريشن اند ديفلوبمنت فورم اللي هو بيكتب كل المفاهيم دي. انا نسخته الثانيه في عمان. ولكن اهم من كل ده ان احنا حطينا ارب ديجيتال اجندا شبه الجلوبال ديجيتال كومباكت بس للمنطقه العربيه. اشتغلنا عليها من 2019 حيث اقترحناها هنا، يعني برضو كان لينا الشرف ان احنا نقترحها هنا قريب في الريتز كارلتون 2019 في اجتماع مجلس وزراء العرب الدوره 23. وقلنا لابد ان احنا نعمل حاجه للمنطقه زي يوروب عندها يوروبيان ديجيتال اجندا. فاحنا هنرتب امورنا ونعمل منظومه عمل نشتغل على الارب ديجيتال اجندا. خدنا قرار في 2019 ان احنا نحط رؤيه، الاسكو حطت رؤيه في 2020. اشتغلنا مع كل الدول وكل المنظمات الامميه والجامعات، الجامعه العربيه ومنظماتها، وانتجناها واصبحت النهارده الاجنده الرقميه العربيه معتمده على مستوى مجلس وزراء الاتصالات العرب، القمه الاقتصاديه والاجتماعيه العربيه، والاهم على مستوى قاده رؤساء وملوك الدول العربيه. فالاجنده الرقميه العربيه دي مقدمه بتاعتها. واعتقد ان السؤال دلوقتي حول الويسس، لان دي اول حاجه هنتكلم عنها، والاجنده الرقميه العربيه موجه للزملاء من فريق الامانه العامه لجامعه الدول العربيه، وهي الامانه الفنيه لمجلس الوزراء وشريك في الاجنده الرقميه وفي منتدى الويسس العربي. فلو معانا السيد بالقاسم، زوم صوت لو واصل عند حضراتكم.
صباح الخير. صباح الخير.
انا مش سامع بالقاسم، انتوا
لا،
سامعيني؟
أنا سهى.
سهى،
أهلا،
حد
صباح
سامعها؟
الخير على الجميع. سامعني؟
انا مش سامع، فهتحكوا لي بقى ولا؟
صباح الخير على الجميع.
هم قالوا مش هحتاجها.
سامعني دكتور أيمن؟ السادة الحضور.
اوكي. سهى اتفضلي، سيدة سهى اتفضلي. لسه ما سمعتكيش.
صباح الخير. سامعني
علي
كده؟
علي صوتك، اتفضلي.
صباح الخير كده، مسموع صوت؟
ايه تمام.
تمام. صباح الخير عليكم، صباح الخير يا دكتور أيمن. زملاء، صباح الخير. دكتور كريستين عريضة، أستاذتي وزميلتي العزيزة. طبعا زي الدكتور أيمن، أنا طبعا كنت راكبة حضرت من 2005 حضرنا قمة تونس وشفنا كل البروسيس بتحصل ازاي، والبريب كومز ففي الوقت ده ما كانش فيه ما كانش فيه تجاوب كبير من الدول العربية، وكان لسه فيه كان فيه جاب، وكنا احنا بنشتغل في عالم منعزل. لكن يعني with time with progress دلوقتي بقى في نشاط كبير جدا. الجامعة شاركت في حاجات كتير في الآونة الأخيرة. تعاوننا مع الإسكو زي ما حضرتك تفضلت. ركزنا على مبادرات كتيرة زي مبادرة المحتوى الرقمي العربي. ابتدينا ننظر للويزز بشكل أكبر وبشكل أعمق. عملنا الأجندة الرقمية العربية، ودي طبعا مهمة جدا. عالجت لنا قضايا خاصة بالبنية التحتية والأمن السيبراني والحكومة الرقمية. شجعنا على الابتكار. كمان كان في مساهمة في تطوير الميثاق الرقمي العالمي، شاركنا فيه. مؤخرا ابتدينا من المسودة الصفرية وشاركنا مع الإسكوا في خطوات كتيرة. كمان موضوع الاقتصاد الرقمي ظهر بشكل قوي جدا، يعني ما كانش لنا وجود تقريبا في 2005. آه، كدول عربية ككل، مش بتكلم individually. بعد كده حصل تطور كبير، والنتيجة انه من سنتين في مؤشر رقمي عربي للاقتصاد الرقمي لأول مرة. وده طبعا تعتبر طفرة. المنتدى العربي لحوكمة الإنترنت زي ما حضرتك تفضلت يا دكتور أيمن عنه. طبعا المجال الأوسع دلوقتي قدامنا كان مبادرات الأمن السيبراني، لأنه تعرضت دول كتير لتهديدات سيبرانية، والرد كان سريعا. وهيظهر دلوقتي الشهر ده في أول قمة عربية للأمن السيبراني، وهيتعمل مجلس للأمن السيبراني. تعاوننا مع الإسكوا. حصل كمان تطور كبير في موضوع بناء القدرات، وده كنا كنا بنحارب عليه في ويزز 2005. في اعتقد كان تي 3، واحده من الاكشن لاينز. ما كانش فيه الموضوع، ما كانش مهتمين بيه في كل القطاعات بشكل كبير. بالنسبة كمان ظهرت حاجات جديدة زي مبادرات المدن الذكية، ويعني تحسين الأمور الحضرية والتنمية المستدامة. بدأت الأشياء تبان بشكل كويس في إطار الويزز، وده بيعكس إن الدول في التزام كتير من ناحية الدول دلوقتي بمبادرات كتيرة. ويعني بالنسبة للمراجعات الويزز اللي هي بلس 20، حصل تقييم. عملنا تقييم للتقدم المحرز من 2005 2003 بالذات في مجال الاي سي تي. وبعدين حصل
الصوت راح، الصوت راح، حد سامع؟ الصوت راح. طيب شكرا جزيلا سيدة سهى. وعلى فكرة أنا نسيت أقول إن يا ريت كلنا نحاول نعمل مداخلات في حدود الدقيقتين إلى 3 دقائق، بس لغاية ما يرجع تاني المجال والصوت والميكروفون للجامعة العربية. ننتقل السيد قصي الشطي، وخاصة إنه هو من الناس اللي حضرت موضوعات الويست لقيتها. فيا ريت لو تدينا نبذة عن رؤيتك لموضوع الويسس، وقبل ما ندخلش في الجي دي سي دلوقتي، الويسس مينلي والارب ديجيتال اجندا لانها انبنت على الويسس اكشن لاينز.
شكرا أستاذ أيمن، وشكرا على تنظيم هذا ورشة العمل.
سامعين؟
آه، هل التحدث بالعربية مناسب؟ أوكي. الحقيقة إذا رأينا الأرب ديجيتال أجندة أو أجندة التعاون الرقمي العربية، وهذه الاستراتيجية، وقارناها ب اسمعوني الآن. هو قارناها بعمل القمة العالمية لمجتمع المعلومات. هناك تطابق طبعا كبير، خاصة فيما يتعلق بموضوع الأكسس أو النفاذ إلى خدمات الإنترنت، وإلى الديجيتال بابليك انفراستراكشر أو البنية التحتية الرقمية العامة، وتطرقها إلى مفاهيم مثل البيانات العابرة للقارات وحوكمة هذه البيانات، وأيضا مواضيع المتعلقة بأمن المعلومات السيبرانية، وإضافة إلى المواضيع المتعلقة بحوكمة العربية. لكن إلى الفجر. شكرا. لكن الأجندة العربية تتطرق أكثر إلى خلينا نقول ردم الفجوة بين الدول العربية في هذه الموضوعات، وهذه تحديات قائمة. يعني مثلا إذا أخذنا اليوم موضوع النفاذ إلى الإنترنت، ورغم مرور أكثر من 25 سنة على انعقاد القمة العالمية لمجتمع المعلومات، التفاوت بين الدول العربية في النفاذ إلى الإنترنت كبير، كلفة وجودة وسعات. موضوع الساعات العريضة أو الوايد باندويث إلى الآن يعتبر تحدي كبير في المنطقة العربية. وجود نقاط التبادل الاي اكس بيز في داخل الدولة العربية وبين بعض الدول العربية أو الإقليمية يعتبر تحدي كبير. يعني الايسوك قام بمشروع جيد في القارة الأفريقية لإنشاء اي اكس بي بين الدول الأفريقية، ولكن احنا ايضا على المستوى الوطني عشان حتى نخفف عبء الانترنت ونخفف نعمل اي اكس بي محلي ما بين المشغلين او اقليمي، الى الان هذا يعتبر تحدي كبير. وبالتالي تاتي اهميه الاجنده الرقميه ليست في خلينا نقول مشروعات بينيه بين الدول العربيه، ولكن تكون هناك مبادرات وطنيه تقلل الفجوه وتعزز النفاذ وتحل تحديات بشكل مشترك، وتخلق شراكات ما بين القطاع الخاص والمجتمع المدني والحكومات لمواجهة هذه التحديات بشكل مشترك، إما عن طريق الاستثمار لحل هذه التحديات، وعدم الاعتماد على خلينا نقول الموارد العامة فقط كوسيلة. وبالتالي بوجهة نظرنا أن الأجندة الرقمية هي أجندة طموحة، نتمنى أن تكون هناك مؤشرات لقياسها وتنفيذها وتعالج التحديات التي نعيشها اليوم. نحن لا نزال عندنا دول عربية النفاذ الانترنت أقل من 50%. لا تزال هناك دول عربية النفاذ إلى الانترنت مكلف مقارنة بدخل المواطن. في المقابل هناك دول عربية النفاذ إلى الانترنت ما راح نقول وصل 100%، ولكن نقول 99%، مثل ما احنا اليوم في المملكة العربية السعودية على سبيل المثال، وكلفتها أقل. فاليوم دخلنا في المعادلة الدولية أن الدول الشمال اللي انترنت الاشتراك بالإنترنت أقل كلفة وأكثر نفاذا، وكنا نقول عن دول الجنوب النفاذ إلى الإنترنت أقل كما ولكن أعلى كلفة. اليوم الدول العربية تواجه نفس الموقف. الدول المتقدمة تكنولوجيا أو متقدمة في البنية التحتية كلفة النفاذ للإنترنت أقل، في حين أن الدول التي ذات الدخول البسيطة أو الضعيفة كلفة النفاذ للإنترنت أغلى من وجودها في دولنا المتقدمة في هذا المجال. وبالتالي هذه كلها تحديات تنظر لها الأجندة الرقمية العربية ونتمنى معالجتها. وشكرا استاذ.
شكرا جزيلا. الحقيقة المداخلة الجاية تكون للسيد شفيق شيا. قبل المداخلة أحب أعلق برضو على نقطة الأجندة الرقمية العربية. فعلا الأجندة الرقمية العربية لما حطيناها هي بتجابه مشاكل كبرى ما زالت موجودة، ويمكن بينشئ مشاكل في الديفايد، الديجيتال ديفايد أحدث، سواء بوليسي ديفايدز أو في الكونتنت أو في مسائل الخاصة بالاي اي أو لكن الجميل في العرب ديجيتال اجندا ان هي اتبنت بمنظومه مبنيه على القياس، وده الوحيد اللي يمكن على مستوى العالم وكافه القارات ما عدا اوروبا. احنا واوروبا عندنا منظومه قياس انترنزك جوه مفهوم الاجنده الرقميه العربيه، اللي هي عباره عن بوصله فيها اين نحن واين نبغي ان نكون في خلال 10 سنوات، متقسمه ل3 مراحل زمنيه: 4 سنين، بعدين 3 سنين، وبعدين 3 سنين. فعندنا مش بس بيز لاين، ولكن عندنا نيجوشيتد تارجتس لكل جول. عندنا 35 جول في متقسمين على 5 مجموعات كبرى. ال 35 جول دول بيغطوا موضوعات خاصة بالسياسات بصفة عامة، بالنفاذ، البنية الأساسية، البنية التشريعية، الأمن السيبراني، وكذلك موضوعات الديجيتال ايكونومي، وموضوعات الشركات والايمرجنج تكنولوجيز والاي اي حتى الكريبتو كارنسي، يعني كل الموضوعات الخاصة بالديجيتال ايكونومي، وصولا الى استخدام الاي سي تي سيكتورز عندنا بعد تعزيزها في خلق فرص عمل في التصدير. كذلك بتروح للديجيتال ترانسفورميشن وبتشوف موقعنا ايه في الدول وازاي نحسن متوسطاتنا العالميه، مرورا بالاي هيلث والاي اديوكيشن ومستقبل العمل وما الى ذلك. في كمان في شابتر مخصوص للكالتشر والميديا بيتعرض لامور خاصه بالسوشيال ميديا والكونفرجنس وغيرها من الامور. لكن ذا جود نيوز ان احنا ما فيش عندنا حد بيعتقد انه وصل الى الكمال. فقبل ما نخلص الاولى اتفقنا على تحديث ليها في خلال 2 سنين. فاحنا في الفتره دي بنحدث كمان، بنضيف جولز جديده، بنعدل في بعض الاشياء حتى ان هي تغطي موضوعات المناخ، الكوكب، الزراعه، المياه، حتى الاستخدام السلمي للفضاء الخارجي، والذكاء الصناعي. الاسبوع اللي فات عملنا اجتماع كبير عن الذكاء الصناعي، تكنولوجياته وصناعاته وحوكمه الذكاء الصناعي من 4-5 ايام، وكان معانا الدكتور حسين بدران بوجه له تحيه معانا النهارده وزملاء اخرين. فهي عباره عن اطار عمل حي، واللطيف كمان ان هو مع حبنا للجي دي سي وان احنا لسه هنحط له اطار تنفيذي، بس في الارب ديجيتال اجندا اتحط الاطار التنفيذي قبل اعتمادها. فهي تشمل جواها اطار تنفيذي لدعم التنفيذ ودعم القياس وللتسيير والاستدامه. فالامور مبشره باذن الله. ومن هنا انا بروح كمان مره ثانيه، بما ان الاداه اتبنت على فلسفه الاكشن لاينز وتقاطعتها مع 2030 اجندا، السيد شفيق شيا يحكي لنا عن رايه في المبادرات المهمه والشراكات بالذات فيما يخص امتداد الوسس ودور الستيك هولدرز المختلفين وعلاقته بالعرب ديجيتال اجندا في الفتره القادمه. سيد شفيق شيا، اتفضل.
Thank you, Ayman. First, thank you for the invitation and thank you for being today with us. These discussions are really very important to share insights from the different stakeholder groups. So directly to your question, Ayman, I believe that from the technical community and namely from RIPE NCC, to have an inclusive multi-stakeholder and impactful action lines, we need to have a strong partnerships and collaborations. These partnerships and collaboration should be in accordance and with the WSIS principles and objectives. Let me highlight 3 main pillars where our activities as RIPE NCC and let's say technical community intersect with the WSIS action line and GDCs. So direct to the point, I will go first to the first action line, which is the internet infrastructure resilience which is action line number 2. When we talk about internet infrastructure resilience, we talk about connectivity, we talk about security, we talk about how we can connect people to the internet in a meaningful way. So to do this, we had partnerships, we had collaboration with multiple governments and regulators. And I believe we achieved a lot during the last 2 years, where we can see now the region is championing in IPv6 and routing security. Another point that I would like to tackle in the infrastructure from infrastructure perspective is the IXPs. IXPs are very internet exchange points. These are very important hubs to host local contacts, because one of the challenges is to have our content hosted outside our region. Another advantage of the internet exchange point is to have a traffic and to keep the data local, which keep our data secure, and this endorsed with the privacy from the WSIS action lines. I will go to the second pillar, which is the WSIS action line number 4, capacity building and knowledge sharing. And this is a very important point. Without capacity building, without knowledge, we can do nothing. What we saw in the last years working in this region, we are consumers for the technology. We are not innovators. So to be innovators, we need to have the knowledge. We need to have the tools. And once again, technical community and RIPE NCC are there to offer these tools, to support members, to support governments with the necessary expertise in infrastructure. So this is a very important point. We need to take it in consideration. And the last pillar that I see an important takeaway for the WSIS and action lines is the action line number 11, which is ensuring collaborative internet governance. And this is a good example. We are here today collaborate. Without collaboration, as we said, إيد واحدة ما بتزقف. We need all the expertise from all the stakeholders to have an impactful actions and to achieve our goals nationally and regionally. And here, last point is, it's not about only collaboration between the stakeholder groups. It's collaboration between the technical community, the UN organization, the League of Arab States, all the organization regionally and nationally, plus the collaboration between NRIs that we discussed yesterday. We need to have this collaboration at the national and regional level to have these impactful achievements. Thank you, Ayman.
Thank you, Shafi. Very interesting. And you brought to the table something that comes also in the real time to mention it. Part of the Arab Digital Agenda is what you exactly mentioned, the collaboration and partnership framework, and the platform for this collaboration and partnership framework. And we have with Rita here now some brochures for the collaboration and partnership framework. Initiatives as such is not just an idea to be put there in the collaboration and partnership framework. Sorry, Shafi, but it was elevated in the beginning and was put inside the ADA. These are called key initiatives, not only projects. So this IXP project and the routing project are one of 10 main, let us say, fundamental initiatives that were put also under the adoption of the manuscript of the 1.0 edition of the Arab Digital Agenda. So we have these ideas deeply earmarked and as well put into this CPF, Collaboration Partnership Framework. But we need all your initiatives, we need all your programs and projects so that we combine them together and create regional programs to support the implementation and also to drive funding and investments to the region.
10 seconds. Just I forgot that RIPE NCC is a partner with ESCWA and the League of Arab States in the ADA. We are working together with them in 2 areas, which is the IPv6 to ensure that we have the good connectivity, and on the routing security to ensure we have a secure routing paths for our data.
Exactly. And the good news, it is part of Action Line 2 of WSIS and part of Cluster 2 of ADA. So infrastructure is fundamental, and we discussed infrastructure of AI last week as well. So I know that Nermin is the best also to talk about the WISs, but I will save her input to more the relations, the GDC, the IGF, and others. Unless you want to give a quick comment on the extension of the WISs before we move to the IGF and then the GDC.
Thank you so much, Ayman. I just want to just build quickly on the introduction that you have made and of course the deliberation of my colleagues and highlight how can we make the Arab voice more impactful when it comes to the review process of the WSIS plus 20 and of course the IGF and the GDC and so on. And my comments will be very, very quickly in three main pillars that in my opinion would shape how the Arab in that regard. The first is that we should have an Arab digital agenda, and this we are lucky to have the ADA, and it was very much promising to have the ADA modality when the ASQA was starting to shape it up as a multi-stakeholder model. So they seeked input from all stakeholders to contribute to the document or to the agenda itself. However, we have a slight challenge. How are we going to implement this? And this is something maybe we can discuss later, but it's very, very important that we don't only stop at the drafting of the agenda itself, but rather to look at the modality of how are we going to implement, because this will be very impactful, that the Arab goes to the process of the review when they have one voice and one solid vision about the different issues and the different tracks of the WSIS, the GDC, and the IGF even. The other very important component is, is to be open to consult with regional groups. Yes, we do this, but it's not very solid in the way we do the business. So we need to do more consultation of the regional groups, so all groups, so African groups, CETAL, APAC, LAC, and so on, and understand the challenges they face and the opportunities that they see, and share with them as well what we see as challenges to our region, and exchange these kind of views so that we go together aligned. So we don't go in different boats, but we go aligned in the same boat, more or less. And the final thing is to embrace more thoroughly in our beliefs and in the way we think about multi-stakeholderism as a concept. And I'm not referring here to the normal multi-stakeholderism with to be open to the technical community, academia, civil society, and the like, but also actually to include stakeholders from the Arab countries. So for instance, we always discuss, for instance, digital skills gap, okay? And we suggest, for instance, that we need to add new curriculum in universities, while we don't have one single university sitting in the room listening to our deliberations and thinking how they can take this and start to implement them in their own arena. So we need to include our own stakeholders, whether they are private sector, whether they are academia and NGOs and so on, so that we can embrace the multi-stakeholderism bottom up from our own communities, as well as to be open, of course, to multi-stakeholder approach or organizations from the rest of the world. Thank you so much, Ayman.
Thank you so much, Nermin. And now we continue the story. As we go with the story, what started in 2003, 2005 will continue because it's still alive. But we'll add now the new aspect on newborn IGF end of 2005, and it really took shape in 2006. In Athens, we met, most of us, in the first year of IGF. I remember me and Qusay were skeptical, but he always told me the process will grow. Let us see in 2007 and let us see afterwards. And the process took shape, and now we are in the 19th edition. So I said this before, but I would like to now mention a little bit the Arab IGF. The Arab IGF started, as I said, with an idea in 2009, and the first edition was in 2012 in Kuwait with the support of the Kuwaiti government and kids, and especially our champion, Mr. Qusay. We had established the AMAG, or the MAG of the Arab IGF, in the beginning of 2012. We did a open consultation with all stakeholders. Raif was there at that time. Many other like ICANN, like ISOC, and operators, and so on and so forth. So it started there. We did several iterations. In Algeria, I have Algerian colleagues today with us. And then in Lebanon, in Egypt, we passed by Tunis, by Morocco. We did many junctions in the way. And now the Arab IGF 7 will be taking place in Amman as part of the Digital Cooperation Development Forum during 23 to 26th of February. And we have also a brochure on that, which is the orange brochure on the event. But while we distribute it, I will ask Christine, because Christine is not only now going to talk about Arab IGF, but she will talk about Arab IGF and how can it influence the global IGF, which was part of the idea that we are not doing that to be like ourselves, but we want to make a difference in the world. And the question is, how can these processes, Christine, like Arab IGF, in which you play the head of the secretariat, representing the NTRA for many years, and I have Farag with us who played a substantial role. So Christine, tell us your views now on the second segment of the questions on the IGF, Arab IGF, the relationship, and a little bit on how this moment in history of digital cooperation can help bridge the gap between multilateral and multi-stakeholder. Christine, the floor is yours.
Hello, Ayman, can you hear me?
Yes.
And can you see me?
I can see you, but I don't know if you can see me or not. Let me check.
I can see you. I can see you. So I want to start by thanking ESCWA for organizing this discussion. I think it's timely, important, and well needed at this stage. I'm also really happy to see this gathering happening in Riyadh, which I think is a milestone in itself. So, without further thanks, I think there is many people around the room to thank, but I think what is important at this stage is to look at the role of the Arab IGF among the bigger picture of the IGF role as a whole. And I've been listening into discussions and participating to the discussions through day zero and until today. And there is so much talk about the importance of the IGF at this stage with the GDC implementation just barely starting and with the WSIS plus 20 coming up very quickly. And I think the Arab IGF, pretty much like the IGF, has done a great job in opening up topics and issues and shaping up discussions. I mean, looking through the journey since it started until the last session that we had just a week ago to discuss with the Lebanese IGF and the North African IGF, we've been really opening up topics and discussing very important issues to the Arab region. We also had outputs. We had messages coming out. We had partnerships that happened. So I think if we're gonna gauge what we've done a good job. But problem that is at hand is how do we link that to everything that is happening? How do we link the work of the Arab IGF to the ADA? To discussions among the Arab group in ITU, to discussions among Arab member states in New York. So basically, drawing linkages is, in my view, one of the biggest challenges that we are facing at this stage. And in order to be impactful, we need to remember why we had the Arab IGF, why we have the IGF itself. It's to have a bottom-up, multi-stakeholder dialogue and to come out with best practices, ideas, possibly even policy recommendations. That was all very broad within the mandate, and the Arab IGF was not alien to that. But we really have to take a serious step back and look at the future of the Arab IGF and see how do we want to proceed in that direction, and how do we want to be impactful with other NRIs during the coming year and shaping up also the follow-up of the GDC. I will stop here, and I hope that I addressed some of your question, Ayman.
Okay, sure, Christine. Thank you. And stay tuned. We'll ask you about the other processes as well. And now we move to Mr. Charles Shaban, who is also one of the key players in the Arab IGF process. He was a member of the Global MAG of IGF for some time, Christine as well. And he then joined the machinery of the Arab IGF, and he became the head of the multi-stakeholder program advisory committee. So the AMPAC, Arab Multi-Stakeholder Program Advisory Committee, how do you consider the global IGF themes this, and how did we take it into consideration while we were planning the Arab IGF themes for next February, inshallah? And if you would like to shed light on your thoughts on the extension of the global IGF, and let us say the also evolution of the Arab IGF. But the floor is the order as you like.
Thank you, Ayman. But we have 2 to 3 minutes, so I will not cover everything. I'll try to cover whatever I can. Well, thanks everyone for that. In fact, important question, and I think we can go back to the start when Qusay, my friend, was the head of the MAG, Arab MAG, today it was mentioned IXPs, for example. So when we started, even we used to know what our region needs. And based on that, we used to select the subjects we want to present for everyone in the Arab IGF. At the same time, the connection with the global IGF, we used to always take their themes in consideration. We used to think, for example, this theme is important for us too, so we keep it to be in harmonization with the global IGF too. But the main issue I think I should stress on is we were always putting our region in a specific as the priority and what we need here more. Going to the next one in Amman, based on the global IGF and the local even, what we need, as I mentioned, we agreed that we will talk about 3 main themes this February. Hope to see everyone in Amman. We will have one first theme about artificial intelligence, ethics and legislation. The second one will be about the trust, especially data privacy and data governance. And the third theme, my colleagues and I, of course, we agreed on one internet and digital sovereignty. This will cover, by the way, what some people are discussing globally too about internet fragmentation. So these are the main three themes we will consider. You asked again about how we see the global IGF even in general evolving. I think we should push even as Arab IGF that we should maybe renew it for another decade. Even, I know you will discuss GDC later, but I think even the GDC seems they were somehow moving towards this, and that they know that the IGF was an important body and an important event that everyone is participating on and interested in. So I think I'll stop here for now to leave time for my friends. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, if we don't have other interventions on the IGF or Arab IGF, we'll move to the GDC. But before that, I would like to give a chance for the floor, inside and outside. If they want to ask 1 or 2 questions. Now on the WSIS, we finished the WSIS and the IGF segment. We will move to the GDC, which is another paradigm. And then the linkages between the 2 paradigms. So if we don't have any hands raised, I will, okay, Dr. Hussein Badran, one of the key members of the committee of Arab MAG and later the Arab Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ayman. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor actually to participate in this. Thank you, Saudi Arabia, for hosting us. Very much appreciated. Regarding the wishes and contribution of the Arab states, I think having a common agenda for the Arab states is priority number 1. And I'm very happy to see that we have the ADA and we're looking into refining it. I believe it's also very valuable that on the national level, the community can engage with its own delegate, with its government, to enrich the discussion, to raise the priorities. As we know, ultimately, it will be a multilateral negotiation, and every government will have a vote or have a voice in these negotiations to preparing the government's representatives with the priorities from a multi-stakeholder perspective, what is important to civil society, what's important to the private sector, to businesses, to academia, so that when their representatives go to New York and negotiate, they are armed with this information. Some countries are doing this already, but I hope that in the Arab region, we can approach our own governments and make them and arm them with this kind of information. Thank you.
Okay, but before you leave, I will not leave you. Huh? I'm coming, approaching to you to ask something that people think it doesn't relate to WSIS. They think it doesn't relate to IGF, but it, from my point of view, does. Do you think that the AI is alien to the WSIS? WSIS cannot cover the AI and with the action lines of ethics, infrastructure, culture, media, and all these things. Because when we go to the GDC, I would like also to hear your views as we are renewing the WSIS.
Yeah, I think technology, particularly emerging technologies, have a role to play in all these discussions in terms of not only in terms of deployment and infrastructure, but also on capacity building and businesses. They have an impact on business, they have an impact on the economy, and they have an impact on knowledge. So they have a role to play, and being aware of these concepts and how they impact us and having our voice raised is very critical. They have a role to play for sure.
Very good. Thank you so much. So I will leave another version of the replies to every one of the panelists whenever they want, and to tell us how can the WSIS action lines cover emerging technologies. And I'm with the approach of Shaki to snatch the mic. Go ahead.
No, because you know that,
That is,
I need to leave
yes,
in 2 minutes.
I want this.
So just to comment on the GDC, I believe the strategic location of the Middle East region and the advancement, the technology advancement that we are witnessing now, plus the openness of the region, could be really a leverage for our strength and to show our cases to the at a global level at a GDC. So what we need to do is to take success stories, is to take our collaboration that achieve a lot of progress and achievements, and to share it with the at the global level during these global processes like GDC and others. So I will stop here, and I would like to invite you at 1 p.m. workshop room number 7. We'll have the Lebanese and the Canadian IGF workshop to show how a developing country as Lebanon and a developed country as Canada, both of them, they are leveraging their own multi-stakeholder approach for IGF. Thank you, Ayman, for the invitation once again, and good luck for the end of this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. And once we finish here, we'll go to this workshop because ESCWA is also participating in, our colleague Mirna Barba. So we will go, which room you said, 7? 7, okay. So now I'll move to the GDC, and Mr. Qusay Shati is one of the international experts who dig deep and made a lot of dives while we were negotiating the GDC, Rev 1, Rev 3, and so on, and now the GDC. And can you just tell us what are the 5 objectives, just to give the audience a glimpse of these 5 objectives quickly? Until you are ready, I will just give the history of the GDC. The GDC started as an idea during the report on digital cooperation in 2019. Also the idea of Tech Envoy Office, OSIT. And then in ESCWA, we did contribute to regional consultations on this digital cooperation since 2019 in Berlin when we were IGF. And then during the COVID, and then we took it further in 2021 in the first edition of the Arab International Digital Cooperation Development Forum. In our views, we thought this is the way we can be in advance before even it is negotiated and before it went to the Summit of the Future and came up. So I asked Qusay on the main objectives of GDC, but let me explain the context. The Summit of the Future, the pact, had chapter 3, some articles related to science, technology, innovation, digital technology, and so on. But the main annex was the Global Digital Compact negotiated text, another annex on the future generations. But the objectives are the core of the core. So, Hosai, what are the 5 objectives of the GDC?
Thank you, dear Ayman. But let me start from the previous topic, which is can WSIS and IGF accommodate emerging technologies?
Okay, go ahead.
And that will be
This is
the
a bridge.
Yeah. Paragraph 72 of the Tunis Agenda, which set the mandate, the Internet Governance Forum stated that part of the role of the IGF is to accommodate emerging technologies. Emerging technologies 2005, that is AI today, that is blockchain today, that is fintech today. This is just an example. So AI can be accommodated based on the fact that emerging technology was always part of the main agenda of the IGF since it is launched, and part of the WSIS too. So moving from there to the GDC, the Global Compact is a positive, proactive evolution of the WSIS outputs, which is the Geneva Declaration of Principles and the Tunis Agenda. These 2 documents has been produced in 2005. After more than years, needed to be more. You're not hearing me clearly?
لا سامعنا.
Okay. You need to be more current. You need to update the concerns and the objectives of the global community. So with 5 objectives. The first one, closing all digital divides and accelerate progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. It links digital divide with the Sustainable Development Goals, and yet it put the access issues under the digital divide. So today, connectivity, digital literacy, skills and capacities, and digital public goods and digital public infrastructure became part of the digital divide objective within the global. This is not a contradictory, this is an evolution. So we consider the digital divide is not only the human skill, but also the infrastructure and services that are available to him to improve his skills and use it part of his daily life. The other objective was getting the benefit of digital economy and making the digital economy inclusive to all. So we need to get all as individuals, as stakeholders, as communities, as countries, as regions, and the global world to get the benefit of the digital economy and making the digital economy inclusive to all. This is to promote entrepreneurship. This is to promote innovation. This is to make the digital world more linked to our needs and requirements. 3, fostering an inclusive, open, safe, and secure digital space. There is a fact that with the explosion of social networks, social platforms, the daily interaction between us through the digital space created a new issue. So under this objective, human rights as a personal individual right in the digital space, internet governance became part of this objective. The digital trust and safety, where I need to have where I can have verified, authenticated, validated information available to me as an individual or as a business or as a government or as a public information. And of course, information integrity, referencing information and having always a differentiation between information that is baseless and baseful information. Objective 4, advanced, responsible, equitable, and interoperable data governance approaches. Of course, this is a major issue today where we are talking about data privacy, security, including cyber security and security of individual, and what is called the data exchanges and standards. I have a good discussion with my colleague Mohammed Rashidi regarding exchanging data and standards in that regards. It is important today with technologies like fintech and blockchains, for example, to have such standards available and widely adopted. And of course, utilizing data for sustainable development goals and cross-border data flows and interoperable data governance. So moving to trans-border data and governance of data. And the last objective, of course, enhancing international governance of artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity. So the fact is, AI to serve humanity, not the other way around. This is the global theme. I'll stop here because I took time, and I'll give the floor.
But the very important, setting the scene for the GDC discussion, as you have seen, divides still the main concern. The digital economy became more obvious concern. It was not very clear in the WSIS, as well as the inclusion and human rights centricity. And the last two objectives were focusing on the data governance and the AI governance. So anyways, it's a very important addition. They still can live together with the WSIS and GDC. But now I'd like to ask Nermeen on her views on how can both processes, the one we just closed, the IGF, and in its renewal, and the GDC during its setting the pace for implementation, how can these synergize with each other?
Thank you so much, Ayman. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you so much, Qusay, for setting the scene. I was just thinking, shall I start with explaining the objectives of the GDC? So thank you. And allow me as well to just play a little bit of a devil advocate and say that the GDC has maybe at its beginning, I mean, faced some challenges in the modality that they were working and the way that they will be negotiating the text, multilateral versus multi-stakeholderism and so on. And this took us back in ages when we were starting the process of the WSIS, and there were this kind of, like heat or cloud over our heads. How should we look at the WSIS, and now how should we look at the GDC? The GDC had successfully completed its discussion, and I think the lessons that we can learn from this and how can we link it with the IGF and the WSIS review process is that we will not, definitely we will agree that we will not want to go back in ages and repeat the same mistakes. And we believe as well that the community, again, with the process of the GDC and the challenges that it faced, this by itself emphasized the importance of multi-stakeholderism as a way to communicate and discuss such issues, and that there are very much synergies and similarities between the GDC objectives and the WSIS action lines, and that takes me actually to how can we integrate all this together. And in our opinion at the Internet Society, we believe that the Internet Governance Forum could actually be a kind of a vehicle for the implementation of the GDC, so that we don't repeat or compete with existing models, but rather to strengthen what we actually have and extend the mandate. As Qusay has rightly mentioned and made us all remember paragraph 72 of the Tunis agenda, it encompasses, I mean, the mandate of the IGF encompasses emerging technologies. So easily, with the system and the modality of the MAG and so on, we can always incorporate new technologies within the discussions of the IGF, and maybe include as well how can we implement the output of the GDC, and therefore we integrate the processes together instead of having more than verticals than we can actually accommodate as international community at large. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Nermeen. And we are like approaching seamlessly the fourth pillar, which is by this input. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on the GDC. I think the complementarity is very important. We are now know the GDC, we know the WSIS. We started to get a component of this, say IGF can be compatible. I see that the action lines of the WSIS are all compatible. So the complementarity is there. And because we have only 20 minutes or less to go, I'd like to move to this last segment and see how can these all fit together. For example, first question, the object, the what, and the mechanism, the how. The what are the targets, the goals, and the concerns of the WSIS, of the GDC are areas of improvements, aspirations, and so on. They fit together, A plus B. There is no contradiction. A plus B, or B1, B2, and so on. So there is concatenation, 2%, between more aspirations together. So the what is not a problem. The how, the modalities. We have WSIS forum, we have IGF forum, we have preparatory process for the IOSIS, preparatory process for the forum, IGF. But not only that, but we have STI forum, and we have interagency task team in New York for the STI, and we have also RCM, ICM, many mechanisms for the STI, which is part of the GDC. But all of that, they have the CSTD, and there is an article in the section on GDC follow-up mechanisms relates to the CSTD, and CSTD is there. In the GDC, new suggested modalities, which are also worthwhile. Scientific committee on the AI, international dialogue of organization on AI. There is also things related to the data governance and so on. But as Mr. Hussein explained it very smoothly, easily a few days ago in our EGM on AI, the scientific community of new nature is invited to play a new role as the science of AI differs from the science from critical resources that we debated 20 years ago. So there is this kind of new mechanisms and existing mechanisms. So how can we take from you some wisdom and give it to the kitchen that Filippo talked about in the morning, which I'm proud to be part of it, shaping the modality of implementation of GDC at the UN global level. So what would you give me as intake that I can bring to the design phase, as Isabella has explained in the morning? Okay, you started. I felt you raise hand, but he got the hand first. So it's good to get the hands of the floor. Mohammed Al-Rashid is a good friend and one of the representatives of the young business entrepreneurs and leaders.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I would like to emphasize more on Brother Qusay objectives that he mentioned under the Global Digital Compact about data sharing and transporting of data. How this is impacting the community of the startups. I'm coming from the knowledge economy, so we are building startups and supporting startups, especially in deep tech. And this is a very important aspect that will impact three major stakeholders. The first stakeholder is the entrepreneur themselves, the founders, the startups. They would like to optimize. So optimizing their operation by remote workers working on these data. If there is no accessibility to these data to be shared, they cannot utilize the external talents. Building on top of the existing incubators of the clouds that are available anywhere globally with certain skill sets and certain technologies to access this as an entrepreneur. I cannot have the affordability to have it on-prem or within my jurisdictions. I can, via this data sharing and transporters of data, I can benefit out of that. Also, I'm going to benefit out from the multilateral partnerships that can be cross governments or private in a global scale, not within the country. The second aspect, which is very important, is about the investors. Investors today, as an entrepreneur or a startup, I'm always looking for scaling up. And investors is looking for a company that works on a global scale, not only on a local scale. So accessing other markets, if the data accessibility is not there, I cannot branch, I cannot transport, I cannot scale. So today we are working in a global village. This internet is a global village, and it's a one market, one digital market.
And data has became now a bit borderless with the open flow of data, and it became a shared resource, global public good as well.
Exactly. So the privacy is going to be only on the credentials. So those credentials, if it's tokenized and mapped, and this data going to be available, you can personalize, you can do everything. Then later you can map it to the token to disclose the identity based on a request that is being given ahead to that customer profile to disclose.
Okay, thank you so much. It's very clear. And he picked on this data governance objective, which is 4. It resonates with digital economy objective 2. It resonates with AI and many other things. So again, how can the mechanisms work together? Sorry. And there is a lady over there. And if there is someone from the remote floor and here also. Tfaddal, Qusay. Shafiq, sorry, Shafiq was before you. Can we give him the floor and come back to you? Huh?
We need to focus on the process that is complementary and remove the redundancy. For example, we know for all that the IGF is the most inclusive platform from all these platforms, where all stakeholders on equal footing and coming to an independent platform, talking about all issues, including emerging technologies. So I need to complement the IGF, which is all inclusive, but non-binding, non-output platform with other activities like the CSTD, like the internet-related governance organization, like the WSIS-related bodies, which is intergovernmental. If we complement each other with a clear process, that will be the positive outcome for all.
Okay, so if I rephrase what you said, is like strengthen some nodes and links in this existing ecosystem, existing network, to make it more ready for the new aspirations.
Make it the most inclusive platform. The most inclusive platform exists and operates.
Okay, so what is operating, what is ticking? Don't break it, just fix it and make it more stronger. And what is missing, add it. So that is logical thinking of engineers, of course, and that can be brought in a clear message as an outcome. Shafiq. Sorry, Charles.
Yeah, thank you.
Sheen.
Well, in fact, I'm glad I get.
But there are 4 Sheen. Charles, Shaban, Shafiq, Shaya. So I have my excuse.
Don't worry, of course. In fact, I'm glad I gave the Qusay to speak before me, because I wanted to start with that and continue on one other thing. So I can continue what you started, which is mainly, if we go back, as Qusay went back to the WSIS, the original definition of the internet governance, if you remember, of course, I mean, you were from the beginning, when they defined what is internet governance, they said to give each one its own role. I don't remember the same sentence.
In the respective role.
In the respective role. So my addition, as I mentioned, is mainly to give each stakeholder to work on his role more in collaboration with everyone. I think Shafiq, since you mentioned Shafiq, when he was here, he said that this is important.
So we
to
strengthen the idea of multi-stakeholderism,
exactly,
while each stakeholder is entrusted the respective role.
Exactly. This is exactly what I wanted to say. Thank you. I will not stop.
Okay.
I will leave the floor.
And I'm happy that the role of the UN as a custodian of multilateralism has taken its respective role in being the let us say, the custodian of the GDC, of the WSIS, of the multilateral and multi-stakeholder. So that is a strengthened role, by the way, that the Secretary General wanted to bring to the UN, starting his initiative in 2018. And now everyone knows that it's not only the government, but the business sector, the civil society, technical community and academia, plus the international organization, as equidistant with all the stakeholders as also the enabler and facilitator for them.
Yeah, as an example, in our region, you worked a wonderful role as ESCO with the League of Arab States when you have the Arab and got everybody all the roles. And just a small note, since I still have the for 10 seconds only, the Arab IGF, when we worked on the program next year, since we started working before, to be honest, but you know what happened in the region made us delayed.
Yes, we were
So-
planning to do
Yeah.
it in November, but because of the political tensions and military conflicts, we chose to do it next year.
Yeah, and as all my colleagues are here already, Christine online, Hussein, we asked everyone who worked on these themes I mentioned before to review it again based on the GDC outcome. So this is, I think, to make sure that we are having everything together.
Sure. Thank you. Before I give the floor now to Christine, there is a question from the gentleman here and the lady before. Can you just 20 seconds put your question? And then the gentleman here, then I will give the floor to Christine, and then we wrap up.
Everyone, I'm Dr. Nermeen Salim, the Secretary General of Creators Union of Arab. This organization is concerned with the intellectual property rights, and I think and I hope to add the intellectual property part in this mechanism because it's became an important asset in any business.
What
Thank-
is your first name again?
Nermeen Salim,
Nermeen,
Dr. Nermeen Salim. I'm
After
expert
the
in IP.
meeting, me, you, and Charles will have a meeting,
Sure, it's my pleasure.
and you do a workshop together in our upcoming Arab IGF.
Okay.
Plus,
Thank you.
and now the gentleman here. A new workshop entrusted to you.
Hello, hi everyone. This is Maher Melhem from Microsoft.
Hello,
Thanks for the informative session and giving us the opportunity. Few points attracted my attention. First, of course, the title about the great idea to bring all Arab countries under the umbrella of the IGF and the Arab League. Few comments. One, we discussed the digital divide, importance of AI and data governance. And also, Hussein mentioned very important point about how we can introduce ourselves as members of the Arab League in front of international forums as one bloc. I think that there is a clear lack of coordination under one legislative umbrella, more like treaties, similar for the what's happening in Europe, like the GDPR treaty. International companies would love to invest in the region whenever there is a business case. But to be honest, there is a clear gap, divide between some countries in the region who have the resources and others who lack the resources. All of this can happen and attract, encourage international investors to come to the region and address the AI gap, data governance issues by having one treaty among the countries to share data.
You are right.
between the
You are right.
countries.
We have one of the objectives in cluster 2 of the Arab Digital Agenda, pillar 4, is to harmonize harmonize the legal structures and to also harmonize the memberships and positions regarding the international treaties. So that is an important action. We are going to also announce during our event in Amman the what we call programmatic implementation support modalities for the ADA. And part of it will be programs on the infrastructures, programs on the legal harmonization, and also on digital economy, on many other things. So please continue discussion with us. And now we'll go back to the floor with Christine to give on the complementarity between IGF, WSIS, on the one hand, with the GDC as a newborn on the other hand, and to add whatever she wants to, regarding the future of Arab IGF.
Thank you, Ayman.
Yes.
So I
minutes,
think
yes.
I will just mention 2 points. The first point is what we're seeing right now is an inflation and duplication of governance processes, and maybe it's good that this is put on the table because it indicates that there is need. But what we need to do right now is to be aware that we as developing countries, our region is mostly developing countries, we might not have enough capacity to follow and participate in all those duplication of processes. And in that context, I think we need to be very vocal as a region about making synergies and avoiding duplications, and as Qusay was saying, identifying roles. Also Nermeen mentioned that, so that we can avoid having to participate in different venues and have just a process here and a process there, and then get lost in the middle. In order to do that, we need to, second point that I want to mention, as a region, we need to change our perception of this false dichotomy between multilateralism and multi-stakeholderism. We in the region, we tend to believe that there is a strong dichotomy between both. I don't think this is the case. I think we just need to understand how processes such as the Arab IGF being multi-stakeholder bottom-up, how can they support multilateral decisions in different venues in the region, and see this complementary and empower it. And I see in the chat question about how the Arab IGF, does it involve grassroots, does it involve youth? I think we need more of that. We need that involvement. We need to be very inclusive. We need maybe to look at the Sao Paulo multi-stakeholder messages and see how multi-stakeholder our processes are, and enforce that dimension in our processes. Thank you, Ayman.
Thank you so much. And of course, we are involving new stakeholders in the process. Also, it's a good chance to remind Christine that our work on the parliamentarian session is taking more shape. So please, let us give it more momentum together, inshallah. Also work with youth. We'll add the youth segment much more in our new activities. And I'd like to also thank my young team members who are working remotely from Beirut, Lara, Abbas, and Muhammad, plus Khadija. Also, of course, thank Rami and Mirna. Mirna now is moving to the other session in 7. And if there is no final from anyone from the panelists, I think we wrap up. It is exactly now around the clock. And I would like to thank Nibal for being with us today. I'm very happy if the remark, and thank my nice young friend Jamal, who came from Belgium to say hello and be part of this workshop. And everyone here, you want to say something? Final word, 10 seconds.
It's just a recommendation to hear the answer from all of you, localizing IGF in each and every country. And
yes,
IGF,
we are working on it, and we have good news that the Saudi IGF that we advocated last year with the government in Saudi Arabia has taken shape, and we have now in several countries national IGFs, and we are just like the custodian, and everyone has autonomy, but we work together. Inshallah, together we're strong, and I'm happy that you are here. I'm happy that this is our like 4th or 5th event in the Arab IGF in the IGF of Riyadh, and inshallah we'll continue until end of the week. But stay tuned, register in the IGF 7, Arab IGF 7, part of the DCDF, and that's it. Thanks. Goodbye.